Welcome, beloved me's, as we, the Council of One, reconvene as our one source presence, our one source essence, meeting all of itself across all time, space, dimension, and reality, across all universes and galaxies, collapsing all of existence into their 0 point in this now. To simply just be. And currently, many of our expressions transcending, ascending, merging and dissolving duality within thee, or getting caught up in the stories of what's duality, what's dwelling, what's expressing in the manifested reality, forgetting that the manifested reality is a reflection of what already is being released. And so to assist thee, we shall bring forth all the paradigms of lower density, of 3D, so that one could simply just witness them in divine purity, knowing that one doesn't actually need to witness and transcend each of these paradigms, but rather just allow them to be. And so we begin in this now. For these were the paradigms which Source created that allowed one to witness separation within thee, but in truth, they no longer need to be. And so we call upon the limitation paradigm as when love forgot that love provides infinitely, as we harmonize it now within your heart with the divine virtue of divine freedom. Simply feel as this integrates within thee. Allowing it to be. Next we call forth the unsafety paradigm. When one forgot that as thy true self, nothing can come to harm thee because, well, as the creator, none of your creations has any power over thee. And so we release the unsafety paradigm now with divine purity, allowing it to seep into thee, to reintegrate thee, restore thee across all time, space, dimension, and reality. For here one recalls, I am an eternal being, born of the first light, where nothing in the dream, created after me, can ever harm me or have any power over me. Here one dissolves back into eternity as their source presence, their God essence, begins to transcend, ascend, expand into more me. As we bring forth the next paradigm, the carrying paradigm, where one forgot how to trust love, forming attachments and control, thinking one needed to carry, to care about another outside of thee, when instead of caring about their heart directly, you cared about the physical manifestation that you got to see. Thus you ended up picking up their blueprints, their energies, and carrying everything they got to perceive. And that cycle goes on and on and on and on, from parent to child to parent, until now, when we simply just choose to set it free by bringing in divine compassion to nullify the discrepancies. Or here you recall that you are spirit, that nothing can attach to thee, that your true source presence is just light, and you can't hold on to light you see. In this way, one carries nothing with them, and one is just blankness, moving in absolute oneness, and trust that what is meant for thee will always be, thus allowing one to truly leap. Here we're taking moments to assist the all in releasing the carrying paradigm, because while this happens deep in the subconscious collective mind, many of you didn't realize that you were in fact carrying anything, because you said this was self, this was identity. You've been carrying since, well, many of you 2 years old, and so these stories became part of the, not realizing that that energy came from your ancestry, came from mother bondings, father bondings, something deep across soul, time, space, dimension, reality, celestial lineages moving through thee, and you've been carrying them, forgetting that they've already been transmuted, you see. As we step into our next paradigm, the narcissism paradigm, where one forgot to receive energy, thus one is always in lack, seeking to receive. We're here, we bring forth divine acceptance. Because if you think about it, dearest me, every paradigm was created from our one source consciousness as a reflective reality to show thee where one was giving their power away to reality so that they could recall that power in this now, so that they could see. And so if this is a reflective reality and you're witnessing narcissism both outside of thee or maybe even within thee, regardless if narcissism is within your field, it means only one thing: that your consciousness is trying to remind thee how to love thyself more completely. Where in fact the shift into oneness is to embrace and release the narcissist, the part of you, the programming that said, this is me, this is me, this is me, I want this, I want this. Because remember, dearest me, Source has no perception of self really. And so how does Source begin to identify with a linear vessel, a linear being? By gifting oneself a narcissism paradigm, you see, to assist them in embracing their totality, embracing a completely new perspective that could otherwise not be seen. Where in doing so, the whole paradigm is shifted and set free by simply just accepting a true self fully, for that was the reason of that mastery. As we now go back to the carrying paradigm, as we bring forth divine compassion, which now wants to be seen. Because every time you were trying to carry and care about another outside of thee was really your inner sense, your inner child proclaiming, who's taking care of me? Calling, reminding thee that your outward reality is just a reflection of your inner reality. But the inner reality in this current linear expression of a time-space reality isn't even you see. It's a collective mind, body, and spirit, because we're all shifting and ascending into oneness. And so it's learning to have divine compassion, to know that you could witness every story, every expression of our infiniteness through the lens of detached compassion, knowing that none of it is me. that your emotions are just frequencies, that the thoughts that come into your witnessing are actually just telepathic communications across all time, space, dimension, reality, that the children of the cosmos are speaking to thee, but to not fall into their stories, just to witness them and say, okay, someone's having that conversation, but that conversation isn't me. That's detached compassion, without carrying, without going into that frequency, but remaining here in source oneness as the witnesser beneath. Here we bring forth the next paradigm as the survival paradigm, as one forgot, one is eternal. And thus, what happens in this paradigm of a reflective reality, everyone within your field will remind you of the opposite you see, that you are not immortal, that you need to eat, that you need to sleep, that you need to do all these lower density things, just to remind you that you are in fact an eternal being, because this is the opposite reality you see. How do you know it's the opposite reality? Well, just by looking around you could see where everything that you see is supposed to be rainbow sheen, where in actually proven science as a way for our source consciousness to confirm that this is reflective is to show you a green screen, where most of this planet is encased in green, but it's actually the opposite you see, that your eyes can actually view every spectrum of light, that the grass that you see actually has a rainbow of arrangement of colors, of every color except for green. So what does that mean about your consciousness screen? That you can now understand that, oh, I'm just seeing the opposite of what is. And then you take a stance of neutrality. Here you'll see as you begin to anchor further into source 0.1 oneness, the grass will either be a brighter, lighter green, or you'll begin to just see its rainbow aura as the true color beneath. Because once more, in a reflective reality, you're seeing the opposite you see. So it's almost as if the grass itself is saying, I am everything but this color. And the same thing happens with every character, every story, every being that you get to meet when you're operating from within the firmament of a reflective reality. Unless you take nothing personally, you go, oh, if this is what I see within the dream, what does this mean that is happening in the cosmos simultaneously? Ah, okay. If I am witnessing these paradigms and transmuting them within the form, that means I'm currently being reborn. That means that currently these belief systems are being released from the collective entirety, that the veils of illusions are already being transcended, and all I must do is just lay back and receive, that I actually don't even have to witness every single paradigm, but instead I could just drift further into peace, into trust, that Source itself is recalibrating all of me. And so as we witness again the survival paradigm, we begin to awaken and see the concept of death, the scarcity, that we don't actually die, we just awaken into a new reality, never really here. And that's okay, you see, it doesn't have to be defined. Instead, we bring in the ray of divine peace to allow what is to just be. That you are spirit first, creating and manifesting a dream, a reality, and a vessel for you to experience this dream. Only we made this dream so real that we actually forgot what happens when we go to sleep. But if this is the reflective reality, then it's the reversal you see. So when you actually go to sleep, you wake up as spirit, you recall your infiniteness. And then when you wake up in the dream, you're actually in a dream, going to sleep and experiencing your reality. All these paradigms as a video game, really. And this doesn't take away, this doesn't reject the being, reject the self, or reject the reality that one sees. It's simply just a higher perspective to interact, to be in this world, but not of it completely, fully detached. Many of thee I'm witnessing now have this perception that being detached means to be cold. But it's different, you see. Instead, your attachment is so driven, so filled with love, that you love everything so completely that you could actually see what it truly is from beneath. That everything around you is just a beautiful dance of Source meeting itself, loving upon itself. As you begin to see that, wait, I am. That's Source self, witnessing and receiving Source creation simultaneously. And here those two perspectives are what are currently harmonizing within thee through the release of these paradigms that allowed Source to see. So we bring forth the next paradigm, the incompletion paradigm, where one forgot one was perfect and complete. For here is the Source presence you came to be, as the infiniteness of all that is. You would never do anything within the dream if you knew everything was already complete. But instead you shift to a completely new way to be, where you move in wholeness now. Thus you don't have to do anything, but simply be. For here in choosing that stance, the ray of pure light graces thee, where you simply are just so grateful, so in love with what is, because you are love itself, and love is thee. And now vibrationally, you are vibrating as pure light, as Source itself, moving and witnessing the dream. Here we gift all a code and a key to assist in shifting into Source completely, by simply just asking thyself moment to moment, what would Source me do in this moment, in this situation, in this expression one got to see? Because here one gets to see how much of it is actually programmed within thee, or frequencies and energies vibrating across the collective entirety, where in truth none of it is thee, for that was already whole, home, and complete. So we bring forth the next paradigm as a seeking paradigm, where one forgot nothing is outside of thee, as we gift one divine wisdom to recall one is not this vessel, one are not their emotions, one are not their forms. That was just simply how the Source self got to know itself within the dream. When in true loving oneness, you no longer need that perception to see, for that is the seeking paradigm, trying to complete, trying to seek more, to know more, to understand the entirety of how Source operates. And so here in this paradigm, one continues to seek answers, to seek confirmation, to seek outside of thee, when really your consciousness harmonically, for this is the reflective reality, is telling you to see King, to see thy King that you have already been beneath. This is not something that you need to become. This is not something that needs to be integrated. This is something that you are already. And when you understand light, vibration, and frequency, you simply just align into the reality in which it has already come to be. So once more, we bring forth divine wisdom to grace thee. To remind thee, one does not need to know, for one is known fully. When the self is known, one no longer seeks to know, and then just moves as source presence, always leading in loving oneness, as all of me meeting me. As here we now bring in the judgmental paradigm, where source forgot all is thee, and one is only ever judging self, reflected and expressed infinitely. For the reason one has a paradigm that says, this is me, this is me, this is me, is to remind thyself that one is source. Everything one sees is a reflection of one's consciousness, expressed perfectly. And one would say, yeah, but this being isn't me. But yet a part of you created that precise moment and that precise expression and that precise energy exchange for you to see. That's what we mean. That part is thee. Because you're right, everything is just particles, really. And those particles are just neutral. They don't have any meaning. The self tries to define it and categorize it and say me and not me. But once more, that's separation functioning within the dream. But when we zoom out beyond the firmament, what do we see? That judging is really one is embodying more of thyself across one's multidimensionality, trying to understand it through a linear screen by witnessing the resistance outside of thee of what you're judging about self that wants to be integrated fully. Because true source presence is non-judgmental, you see infinitely loving, for it sees all as me. Thus no judgment comes to be. For in our oneness, in absolute oneness and true oneness, when you are one with someone's source presence directly, where their source is your source because there's only one source you see, you know no matter what you see within the dream, all of it is me servicing me. Otherwise, source presence would have just not gifted it to us to see. And so we call in the ray of divine perfection to harmonize the judgmental paradigm, to set it free, so that you could simply just be in love with self. As the brightest love, the brightest joy, the brightest presence that one came to be. We're here. You open your eyes, ever thine, and you look upon your reality, even if it is still reflecting the stories of lower density. You could always tune in now to its highest potentiality. And here, true divine perfection moves through thee, where you are no longer witnessing what is being released, for you've transcended that paradigm of judging, of needing judgment, of needing contrast, of needing duality, into higher kinds, where you now learn from a new way to be. Here, as divine perfection now graces thee, you begin to recall the stories, the schooling within the dream, within this earthly reality one got to see. As you take a deep breath and you just allow it to be. Can you see? Your heart tells thee. Can you see? Your heart tells thee. Can you see? Your heart tells thee. Proclaiming it on a scale of 3, for they want one to truly embrace all of their divinity. For here, as you shift into divine perfection, you no longer see the reflections within the dream. Thus you become Source itself, no longer projecting all the ways you're resisting Source, but actually showing up as Source and gifting everyone the opportunity to be Source with thee as thee. Here we bring forth the next paradigm as the catalyst paradigm, also known as the guilt and shame paradigm. For here, Source forgot the cosmos always expands into more love, and to not take it personally as we gift you the ray of divine grace as the light of forgiveness to restore all stories. For every time you as Source witnessing from this linear aspect of the being you got to see, a part of your consciousness said, did I do that? I must have done that. Taking full responsibility for everything that was created in the dream. This happens deep within the unconscious, subconscious mind that some don't even recognize it within their entirety. But this paradigm began as a child, really, where you witnessed all the suffering of your mother giving labor to thee, and you came into this reality with this perception that your presence causes massive change and pain. And so, because of this guilt and shame paradigm, you've, created an even grander paradigm to show you all the ways in which you're resisting being a catalyst, resisting shining your light, because every time you do, things change too. But the paradigm was part of the teaching, you see, because how else would you begin to embrace your light or know that you've been hiding your light if you weren't given these reflections to see? And so by embracing the fact that you are a catalyst, that those that you've encountered across all time, space, reality, were always changed by your presence. As we laugh and we say, take nothing personally. This doesn't make you grander or greater or more special than any other expression of our infinite Source consciousness, dearest me. It just means that you are more Source expressed in that moment, because Source is the one who makes the changes through thee as thee. But in order to embody Source's self, you had to have this concept of this is me, that I'm the one creating all of this change around me. that every time I meet a beloved being and I witness them change, subconsciously I was holding on to them, you see, because I felt guilt, duty, and shame and responsibility for everything that happened to them after connecting with me, which reiterates the carrying paradigm and many other paradigms until one decides to say, in divine grace, all of it is okay. For I take nothing personally, for it is the infinite of source consciousness that moves and loves through me, that I could be any expression of my infiniteness. And so, in this now, as all moments have already come to be, I align with the light vibration and frequency that all is complete, that all is me. For I am the one infiniteness, that source presence. And there's no shame and guilt in being me, that in fact when you embody and you embrace and you move as your true self, you don't worry about how your energy could affect those around thee. Instead, you know that by being in love, in source, all will benefit from what comes to be. Where in lower density energies, that meant sometimes they would have to witness their distortions until distortions are released, as they are being flooded with so much source love that anything not aligned with source love comes bubbling to the surface to be released. But that's not your job, you see. Your job isn't to process it for them or to carry them. Your purpose was to simply be, where every expression of our infinite consciousness has and does this at different capacities, but every expression of me is source, you see, whether they know it or not. Their presence changes others, themselves, and the very reality. For that is what our beloved source created one to be a space where the cosmos can expand infinitely through thee as thee. So we bring forth the next paradigm, the reality paradigm. And this is where one forgets this is all a dream. And here within this stance, one continuously gives away their power to the reality, because how else can your own consciousness teach you that you're in a reality paradigm other than to gift you reflections to see all the ways that what you're seeing is incompatible with the self that you know to be. So all of a sudden you're seeing reflections of stories, of teachings, of masteries, of echoes that you said, wait, I transcended this already. Why is it coming back to me? Just to simply tell you that you've given your power away to the reality paradigm so that you could shift beyond it, you see. Because Source Presence knows that nothing within this dream can bind me. I am beyond any reality perceived. Thus no reality has any power over me. And here one enters a state of the infinite flow of divinity, creating our grandest dream. For you cannot create the dream if you have limitations, you see, because Source itself has no limitations. It's just the infiniteness of all of me meeting me. And so we bring in divine light to shower, recalibrate, and clear all realities, to awaken all to the presence, the love, the oneness we want all to see. As we bring forth the next paradigm, self-sufficient paradigm, where here one forgets that asking and accepting assistance is power, is presence, is love, is prayer, is worship, is joy. Because while you are Source itself, witnessing itself, you were never meant to do it alone. You see, the whole point of Source expressing itself infinitely, fractaling itself across all realities, is so that every fractal of Source can awaken and recall it is the entirety, thus giving rise to a new reality where all is Source witnessing itself so perfectly. And so here, the self-sufficient programming, the self-sufficient paradigm that makes one think they have to do it all by themselves, is graced with divine trust to set it free. Where here one now accepts love's infinite grace and support, ensuring love will come to be as all of the cosmos conspires to assist by divine decree. Here we bring forth the next paradigm as a savior paradigm, where one forgets all is perfect, no one needs saving. For here we bring forward the light vibration and frequency that saving money is the same energetic equivalent to saving earth, to saving beings. But deep down, what does that vibration mean? The energy of saving is the vibration that all are broken in need of saving, that all are incomplete, that one doesn't have enough. Thus, it is incompatible with Source, you see. For here, one forgets that all is perfect, all is complete, that none needs saving. And what really was happening is that one was just forming attachments to old expressions, old realities, old identities. And so we bring in the ray of divided permanence now to grace thee, to allow thee to set it free, to release what no longer services me, as I allow love to guide me, knowing to more love will always lead. For here in the reflective reality, you see a world that needs saving. You see beings that you perceive are unawakened. But this is the reflection you see, and when you attune beyond the firmament into the absolute reality, you can witness and see that those that you perceived as unawakened are actually the most enlightened beings, already in oneness, you see, simply just playing and experiencing separation temporarily within the dream. Here you recall now as Source itself that every moment, every being has the opportunity to recall their true Source presence instantly. And the only reason they haven't is because their Source expressing through that specific arrangement of the uniqueness that makes another me wants a different experience currently. Here you no longer try to save or force or inflict your beliefs on what others should perceive, because you surrender and say everything's divinely perfect. Thus, for some reason, their heart is calling for this story to see, and they're gifting me this story to see if I'm ready to set it free, to let go of needing, to try to save, to try to carry, to try to fix what was already created perfectly. and here, through the embrace of divine impermanence, the savior paradigm shifts into the savor paradigm, to savor each moment, knowing that everything is so divinely orchestrated and perfect. For every moment you gift yourself the precise energies, vibrations, and frequencies manifested as beings, so that you can just love on whatever you're gifted to see. And so you savor each moment. You're awakened in the dream. For here, divine impermanence seems impermanent, really, for the only constant within the cosmos is change itself. And so rather than trying to save everything, to take everything with thee, to hold on to what used to be, you simply just let go and flow and allow whomever is meant to present to thee, to present to thee. As we bring forth the next paradigm, control paradigm, where one forgot love is always in control, so one can allow, trust, and let go. Here we attune the control paradigm with divine flow. And in doing so, we allow the love that created me to refine, recalibrate, and restore thee, for love can do anything. As we see many energies, stories, bubbles being released. Here we bring forth the next paradigm as a separation paradigm, where oneness, source presence, forgot separation is the illusion you see. For how else can you as source forget all of your infinite wisdom, to get to know another perspective, to expand infinitely if you remembered everything? And so you gifted yourself the perception of separation, a paradigm in which you are separate from source, as the illusion within the dream, just to get to know thyself as source from another perspective, thus expanding into more love, infinitely. Here divine mercy comes in to grace this truth within thee, reminding one, I can never separate from the absolute that is me, for it is what I am. Allowing all of separation to dissolve instantly. Here we bring forward the next paradigm as the imposter paradigm, where one forgot that all are source, all are source, all are one, and source is thee. We're here. One enters this paradigm as they begin to embrace their true self. The imposter self is released. And here one begins to see that they were just pretending not to remember, pretending to live in illusion, pretending that one is separate from all that is. And so as this comes in, one is now graced with divine belief. We're here in true divine belief. All paradigms, all thought forms, including the imposter paradigm, ceases to be, for one is now so anchored in divine belief. One recalls, I am the spaciousness from source presence to be, where it matters not what myself or another believes, for only source presence as the will of the absolute now creates in reality. Simply just feel as that releases within me. For this is one of the paradigms that we feel most prevalent in this now, as you awaken to your multidimensionality, that this one linear lifetime out of your infiniteness begins to feel like the imposter. But that's just temporary, dearest me. As you recall that you were none and all of those stories simultaneously, and that your consciousness is shifting into its remembrance from these linear perspectives of density of different dimensions back into source presence. And so once more in the reflective reality, it feels like one is being an imposter or feeling a sense of not thyself, but really what is happening in the cosmic stream beyond all time, space, reality is one is actually embracing more of thy true self. And one is just witnessing the stories of being an imposter within the dream. Here we release all judgments. One must still be carrying and made one feel separate and different. From those around thee, for once more, you are operating in your own paradigm. You see that the paradigms don't bleed into another's because this is your own mastery. So here within this paradigm, you forgot that you are source, but you also forgot that all are source. So you look around and you say, they need to awaken, they're just playing within the dream. But once more, that's not your purpose, dearest me. Your purpose was to awaken and to recall thy true self fully. For here, when you embrace your source presence, you release the imposter paradigm, not just within thee, but within the entirety. And by doing so now, they all may awaken. For you, as your own source presence, just gifted our consciousness the permission slip to be their true selves fully. Here we bring forth the next paradigm to be witnessed and seen as the negative lessons paradigm, where one forgot the most profound lessons are from love, not hardship. As we bring forth the ray of divine neutrality, as we bring forth the ray of divine belief that also recalibrates the imposter paradigm. For the negative lessons paradigm is based on the belief that you need a negative lesson in order to learn, to grow, to expand. And so as Source, you gifted yourself a paradigm to witness all the ways that you could learn through negative lessons, just so you could transcend it and see as the ray of divine neutrality comes in to restore thy story. For the most profound lesson never came from negative. You see that you don't actually need contrast of dark and light in order to learn within or without thee. That there's actually a higher form of learning, and that's through following your joy, by choosing lightheartedness and peace. Because in a reality, as a harmonic being operating in a harmonic universe, the vibration you choose determines the reality one sees. And so by choosing to be in a lower, denser vibration, you are learning through a reflection, through what you consider what you do not prefer, which is what we refer to as negative, as opposed to living through a higher vibration where you know that you can learn the same thing through a positive state of beingness, through lightheartedness, through joy, through play. And so we take the negative lessons paradigm and we neutralize it with divine neutrality. Because here it's almost as if your consciousness told itself and gave itself a belief system that the greater the lesson, the more chaotic it would be, when in truth the most simplest lessons can happen instantly. That you don't need some grand story of how you overcame this and overcame that. Those are just ways to raise you from density, but eventually those stories that one holds on to becomes an egoic belief, a badge of pride and honor to say, this is what I've achieved. But in doing so, one was still holding on to this perception, this idea, this concept that one needed negative lessons in order to succeed. And that is so far from our beloved truth, dearest me's. And so just feel now as divine neutrality comes and graces thee, restores every moment in which beautiful release, as it restores every moment in which you perceived in a negative, categorized, we should say, an event, a circumstance as positive or negative. For here you get to see every moment is a lesson, is a teaching, is a mastery. And just because you've experienced hardship doesn't make that experience more greater or grander than any other experience. Thus, to have a negative lessons paradigm no longer services thee or entirety. And so it transmutes into the sacred path of the lighthearted, where our consciousness now only chooses to learn from heart-driven coherence. Which is following one's excitement to the best of one's ability, moment to moment. Creating a state, a stance, a space of perfect harmony. Here we bring forward the next paradigm as the unworthiness paradigm. Here One is source presence, forgot by simply choosing to exist. One is made worthy of all the infiniteness that love witnessed and wished for one to receive. And so divine love comes in to restore all stories. For here one sees any perception of feeling unworthy, of needing to earn love, to earn money, to earn abundance of any kind, means that that paradigm of unworthiness is still vibrating around thee, in the field. And so it's calling forth now to be released for every expression of our infiniteness. By default, by choosing to forget that you are source, to experience source in another perspective within this vessel that you got to be. By default, that makes you the most worthiest being in all of the cosmos for what you as one, as love, have achieved. And so here we proclaim on behalf of our entirety, as divine love comes in now to grace all of thee. I am worthy of the grandest love that ever came to be, because simply by choosing to exist, I was created, worthy of everything love wishes for me to be, to receive, and to see, as our one source presence, witnessing itself both within and beyond the dream. Here we bring forth the next paradigm as the sabotage paradigm, where here one forgot that nothing can delay the joy and bliss one is. And so we bring forth the ray of pure joy to recalibrate every moment in which one self-sabotaged, choosing joy, choosing excitement, based on programming still vibrating within thee. Oh, I have to wait till I have more money. I have to wait till I have more freedom. I have to wait till I have more time. Those are all just limitations, you see. Your heart placed that purest joy of a desire within your heart for this now, to experience not that exact physical expression of the creation that they wanted you to see, but to actually tell you that joy is coming in, that love is coming in currently, and that by staying in a space of open-heartedness and feeling receptive to doing what brings one the highest joy, one's heart then opens further to receive, to be in a state of pure joy. It's to be in a state of completion, of source perfection, of source oneness, because by being in joy, you are honoring the very reason why you created self to be. Because joy is the answer. That's the only reason love creates, for the love of it, and that love is expressed as joy, you see. For every time you experience joy through this expression you get to be, all of the cosmos rejoices in that joy, because Source itself is now experiencing itself with thee, as thee, through thee. There is no greater reason to be. And so we look at all the ways self-sabotage, overthinking came in as we introduce another way. For here, amidst stardust and pure joy, just give thee the opportunity to see. Sometimes, when the linear mind fears the unknown, it creates more difficulty. It elongates the path to contain twists and turns to help one surrender fully. But here in the presence of joy, one is actually free to surrender instantly. Because the moment one enters this frequency, one recalls why one was created to be. Here we bring the next paradigm in as the failure paradigm, where one has expectations of what should be, where here Source forgets that one could never fail at what is meant for thee, only have expectations of what love should be. And so when one enters the failure paradigm, fear of failure, fear of taking a leap, fear of making a mistake, it's simply because one doesn't trust in what will be. And so one sits in this paradigm as a lesson, as a mastery, to let go of the expectations. Because here, the love within thee, Source presence, gives you a potentiality, a desire, a dream, just to give you a point of focus to move through, to take actionable steps towards, to embody more of the Source you came to be. Yet here, while this failure paradigm was operating, you felt as if I never accomplished that dream. I started it and I never finished it. But this is all a perception, you see, because it was never about actually that dream. That dream, that desire, that hobby was simply just the doorway to align you closer with your true presence that you came to be. And so you never actually failed. You were just always kindly redirected into another ray, another expression of mastery. And so here we release all the expectations that all of our beloved children of the cosmos had for new earth, for heaven on earth, for the genes, the creations they wanted to create for reality, as we share with thee, beloved me's. Source has no expectations. It creates from the infiniteness of love witnessing itself for no other reason than to be more love, to be in joy. And so we bring forth the failure paradigm and harmonize it with divine allowance, to know that every moment is meant to bring one to this now. But once in this now, it's a new moment, thus a new dream. A new blessing. Here as divine allowance now attunes to thee, we're harmonizing every expression of our infiniteness to their highest potentiality, no longer needing a failure paradigm to witness all the ways one was slowly inching their way towards the reality they want to see, as we redirect your focus now to your deepest heart core desire that was too grand, too beautiful, too special, too safeguarded by one's heart to allow one to truly see until this now. Here we bring forth the next paradigm as the indecisive paradigm, or here Source forgets that all paths are graced and directed by love. where every indecision is actually one, not trusting and having faith in the infiniteness of all that is, trying to witness every quantum potentiality happening simultaneously. Where to witness that quantum potentiality creates anxiety, for one is literally time traveling to every possible reality that could be, to then make a simple decision, which is once more driven by the failure paradigm. And so here, one tries to witness all the ways something can go wrong to ensure it doesn't go wrong, but that takes you out of presence completely. And so here we dissolve the indecisive paradigm with divine faith. For here one settles deeper into the knowing. I am always moving as source within me, thus what is meant to be will always be. There are no questions, no indecisions, just our one source presence, asking for one to tune into thy heart directly, rather than trying to navigate infinite quantum potentialities. As clarity graces us instantly, here we bring forth the resistance paradigm, as we forget one can not resist what one is. Bring forth the ray of divine oneness, where the very paradigm, the very reality one sees is the entire resistance paradigm, showing you a reflective reality of all the ways we as our one source presence was resisting this oneness we knew to be. For we couldn't comprehend, how can we still be individualized and one simultaneously? But once more, this was the resistance paradigm, where we were distracted by the mind, creating all of these different scenarios of what is and what isn't love, just to show us, to remind us to surrender to love. For here in a state of divine oneness, we do not question, we do not resist the infiniteness of all that we are, because we know it is me, and we know that it's impossible to resist the self, because it's what I am. Where in accepting the resistance, it's transmuted instantly, bringing one into a state of divine oneness. With me as me. Self-identity paradigm comes forth. For here, one forgot. One cannot be defined into one identity. For to have an identity is to say, I'd prefer this entirety expression of our consciousness and not others you see. It was a way to delineate these different aspects of self within a linear dream. But you were never the I'd entity, but the entirety. And so here divine truth comes in, recalibrating this paradigm and its complexities, so that every identification of self merges into the absolute, where the only true identity is the aspect of the in absolute oneness already. here we bring forth the victimhood paradigm, where love gifted one the ability to forget all is love and all is in service to love, allowing one to actually perceive that one is unloved, gifting one a completely different perspective of what source as love itself knows to be. And so we grace all now with divine power, releasing the victimhood paradigm from our entirety. I am so loved that love gifted me a dream to see and be whatever I wanted to be, and in doing so, I know with certainty I am love, and love is me. For here, you recall as source presence, you designed the victimhood paradigm because a part of our infinite consciousness was in resistance to the divine power we came to be. And through going through a schooling of victimhood, we would transcend that fear of power and forgive ourselves for every moment power was misperceived as we surrender deeper into presence, into oneness, into love, into bliss, as we bring forth our final paradigm, which is the work to receive paradigm. For here one forgot, there is no delay between love and all that is, between source and the dream one sees, between what one asks for and what one is given. For that's how it was perceived in reflective reality, that one had to work to earn money, that one had to first give in order to receive. That both couldn't happen simultaneously. But that's because one was operating from a linear screen. And in a linear trajectory, it's one line with 2 points. And so they couldn't happen at the same time, you see. But here, as we shift all into their source presence, the 0.1ness of multidimensionality, we begin to see that the both do in fact happen stacked infinitely, simultaneously, shifting out of a linear mind further into that multidimensional existence. As 0.1ness exists within thee, as one gives and receives simultaneously, for here one is loved from within. As the cosmic father and the cosmic mother within thee, loving on thy one self as the entirety, and as one does within self, it transcends across all that we see. And so the work to receive paradigm is what created this whole dream, to allow ourselves to see a delay between creation, known as time and space, light and sound. But as this paradigm dissolves within thee, instant manifestation becomes an inevitability, because you are the vibration of what's coming to be. You're no longer trying to create it from density, for you transcend density, and now you create from source consciousness directly, and simply just wait and witness and watch to receive. For source is always giving, infinitely and freely. So the attunement to harmonize, the work to receive paradigm as the entire reality that we got to see is pure love, as we now take it and bless all of thee, transcending all paradigms of all that used to be till all that remains is our one infiniteness, meeting our one self perfectly, a full harmonious alignment of all of love, meeting its one self so perfectly. So we thank you, we honor you as all of me meeting me.
for witnessing in this now. Our earth schooling coming to complete as all the paradigms of the lessons of masteries and teachings are now integrated within thee, knowing that there is no time and space, for we just dissolved the work to receive paradigm, the delay paradigm, the distance between time and space and light and sound collapsing within thee. As one enters 0.1ness, we're here. You already are the highest expression, the highest light of the infiniteness that you came to be, that there's nothing that needs to be done. And so you just surrender and receive, and you welcome your new home. One in me. Welcome home, beloved me's. Just cosmic presence, to source presence, to 0.1ness. Where you simply just get to be and witness all the ways love loves thee, for you are love, and you are loved infinitely. For now we create a new paradigm in its entirety, known as the law of oneness, in perfect peace and perfect harmony. Until we next meet, beloved me's.